Hi everyone, it's Christy from Green Eyed Tarot. I'm back with another edition of Spread It Out Sunday. So, for those of you who don't know or who may be new to the channel, Spread It Out Sunday is a series I started last year on my channel. I think I'm up to episode 19, which is amazing. I'm really glad that I've stuck with it. Even if I've taken a break now and then, I always seem to come back to it because I really enjoy doing it. So basically what Spread It Out Sunday is I got the idea when I thought about all of the different tarot spreads and even like oracle deck spreads that are hidden in my tarot library and like deep within the tarot guidebooks, which sometimes we don't pull out. Let's be honest, we don't really pull out tarot deck guidebooks all the time. For some decks, I know I definitely do, but a lot of times I don't even go to the guidebooks, not because there's anything wrong with them, just because I want to interpret the deck myself, and I feel confident enough to do that. I've been reading tarot for a long time now. It's been many, many, many years, so I do feel confident enough to take a deck out and just throw some cards down and be able to interpret them. I will say sometimes tarot deck guidebooks have really great like tidbits as well hidden in them. Like they offer really great insight, especially into the artwork, right? Like why did that creator or artist choose that specific artwork for specific cards? I think that that's really eye-opening and provides a whole nother layer of context for readings with cards that have really specific artwork or really specific themes. So Spread It Out Sunday was really about kind of going to decks maybe that I haven't used in a while, or like new decks that I'm getting to know, and then check out one of the spreads that's in there and then pull some cards and read the cards based on the prompts and positions that are in the spread. So that's it. That's a very long-winded way of explaining what Spread It Out Sunday is. So today I thought I would bring out a newer deck, newish deck in my collection, and another. So like this will be a tarot and oracle type pair. So this is actually an oracle deck spread paired with a tarot deck. It's a recent pairing that I've been absolutely adoring and loving, and I've been using it so much. So I thought, okay, why not combine those things? A deck that I'm using a lot, and also some Spread It Out Sunday episodes. So this week on Spread It Out Sunday, it is the When Olga Speaks Oracle deck created by Sasha Lopez. This is a beautiful, beautiful deck created by Sasha Lopez in memory of her grandmother. I believe it was her grandmother named Olga. Her name is Olga Fernandez, I believe, in loving memory of Olga Miranda Fernandez. Who passed incidentally on Halloween, October 31st, 2014. So this deck was one that Sasha created in memory of and to honor her grandmother. So to me, it's a very personal deck. Obviously for Sasha, it's got a lot of real love and dedication and a real personal touch, right, to this deck. And it's great for ancestor work. It's just beautiful. I'm so happy I have it. But one of the amazing things about this deck, and I'll link everything in the description box below. I'll try to link. I believe Sasha has copies available. This was a Kickstarter that I backed. So this is a Kickstarter copy, but I believe there are extra copies available that are up for pre-order. So Sasha has been really clear about how Kickstarter backers will be receiving their decks first. So pre-orders are being done in a very specific way, but I will try to link everything. So in case you're interested. So this is an oracle deck. Again, it has a very ancestral feel, being that it was created to honor, one of her ancestors and a close family member. So in the guidebook, it says, for those who seek the voice of the elder. So in the guidebook, Sasha has broken up the deck by these colors. So there's color borders, and like the font on the deck, each card is different because it's categorized by color, and each color relates to a different archetype. So here we have sort of this brownish, like goldish color, and that's the elder archetype. So there are different archetypes. So here we have blue. This is the seeker archetype. And so for each archetype, there is a spread. This is the strategist, working with the strategist archetype. So there is a spread at the beginning of each section, working with the ally. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to pull one of those spreads out and pull some cards. So I'm going to use the Olga deck, and I'm also going to be using a tarot deck to go with the spread that we're going to do. So I was thinking, just when I was looking through this and kind of like going back over the different archetypes, I was thinking that we could do the ally spread only because there's a lot going on right now in the world. I actually attended a rally yesterday here on Long Island, one of the No Kings rally that was taking place across the country. It seems like every state, I believe, had a No Kings rally. And also there was another rally a few weeks ago, which was for transgender rights. That was sort of in conjunction with Pride Month. And so I have been exploring the ways that I can be a better ally in all the different spaces that I inhabit, and just in my life, and like learning about what that means and what being a real ally means. So I thought, let's do working with the ally. So this is a 4-card spread, and here are the prompts. And I actually have my glasses this time. I'm prepared for my reading glasses. What characteristics of the ally can we embody or learn from? What resources do we have available to support us? Is there anything preventing us from establishing community? How can we show up better in the spaces we care about? Perfect. That's exactly what I was just talking about. So I believe in sort of the information that she provides about the guidebook and the different spreads, where to find the ally card. So let's find the ally card in the deck, and then that will give me a little bit of an opportunity to kind of show some of the cards in the deck, even though this is not a deck walkthrough. I can definitely share some of these amazing cards, so that if you have not seen this deck, you're able to see some of the imagery. It is a collage deck. It is very deep. It has some amazing keywords. And again, I love the way Sasha has built the guidebook structure around the different archetypes. So here we have the seeker. So we're looking for the ally. So I'm just going to speed it up a little bit because we will be here all day, which is fine, right? Because who doesn't like to just spend some time flipping through cards, especially a deck that is as beautiful as this and has so much meaning behind it. Okay, here we go, the ally. So here's the ally card. So this is the archetype we're going to be working with, because this is the working with the ally spread. So we're going to keep the ally here. And then there's, like I said, there's 4 cards. So let's keep the ally there. And I can even let's look at the guidebook and just see what it says about. The ally is who you call upon when you need a hand pulling your boat to shore. They remind us of our inherent worthiness. The journey of the ally requires presence, intention, and reflection. It is a journey that challenges our beliefs about asking for help. The ally also reminds us of our ability to show up for others, which is only possible when we fill our own cup first. Amen. You can't pour from an empty cup. This is a dynamic, reciprocal relationship in which both parties show up in authenticity in order to support the other through challenges. So the allies' keywords are support, safety, vulnerability, duty, trust, reciprocity. I like the word vulnerability because I feel like in my own journey in understanding what true allyship is, I have to be really vulnerable. You have to be very vulnerable to understanding where your implicit bias lies. Just like any sort of stereotypes or bias that you may have been holding on to. Again, implicit bias is it just lives in our systems, in our beliefs, and it's there even if we don't think it's there. And so vulnerability is required to be able to accept some of the more uncomfortable things maybe about our own like ideology and things like that. So I love that that's in there because I feel like that's key. So have you been called upon to provide allyship to others? Sometimes we stumble upon unexpected allies. So this is sort of around also like asking for help and if you struggle with asking for help. So, okay, so we need 4 cards. So again, something that I've been loving with When Olga Speaks is this pairing, which is the Little Sister Tarot. This is by Ginny Thomson. So this deck I absolutely adore. It is a magical, earthy, feminine, diverse, just sort of all encompassed and all embracing deck. It has these beautiful flat matte turquoise, and look at the backs. And then I just love the contrast. Like it goes so well, but there's such a big contrast. Anyway, so this is the Little Sister Tarot. Again, it's an earthy, I absolutely adore this deck. And these two together have just been amazing. They've just been perfect. So I thought, okay, let's pair these for this spread, which is working with the ally from When Olga Speaks. So we are going to, and I'm going to overhand shuffle. I love this cardstock. It's like a satiny matte. But man, do I struggle with riffle shuffling. Like I can do it, but my hands are so small. Like the span from my thumb, like it's such a struggle for me to do it. I can do it, but I don't really like it, and it kind of hurts my hands. So we're just gonna overhand. So let me see if I can do this while looking at the book so that I can get my placements correct. And the prompts. There we go. We'll do that. Okay, so the first one is, what characteristics of the ally can we embody or learn from? So let's leave our ally archetype right there and see what characteristics of the ally can we embody or learn from. So let's see what card we get for this. What characteristics of the ally? Ooh, the 5 of Pentacles. What an amazing card to pull for this ally, working with the ally, right? So the 5 of Pentacles, which we know is about sort of that being bereft, right? Sort of that lack of resources. So what characteristics of the ally can we embody or learn from? So how does this 5 of Pentacles relate to being an ally? I think, again, like I said, we know this card is sort of, and I find it so interesting that this came up because we know the next card is sort of that card of, charity and giving and like spreading the wealth around, not just money, but spreading the wealth. So I think, I feel like this is sort of leaning towards more of the empathic responses, like of being an ally, like characteristics of the ally that we can embody or learn from is that, is to like, I feel like remember that we're like stronger and more effective together, when there's that connection, that you're not like there's alone and feeling alone and being hopeless. And I think just being an ally sometimes means just being there. Like in this card, I feel like it's like there's someone there at a very low point, and sometimes just getting down there with someone is enough to be an ally. Like getting down there in the hole with them and just being with them. Like, I see you, like I'm right here beside you, like not offering anything, because I feel like a lot of times where we go wrong with being an ally is trying to sort of like fix, and like solve, especially when we're someone who's never had the experience or someone who is not in a marginalized group who has not had the experience. someone who lives within a degree of privilege, just because of the group that they were born into, whether it's a race or a class or a sex or whatever it is. And I think the Five of Pentacles, like I said, especially in this card from the Little Sister Tarot, it just looks almost like this person joined this other person. Like this person just looks like they are, they're just in the sort of the depths of being like without, right? The lack of resources. And it doesn't have to be just money, but lack of money, whatever it is, lack of housing, lack of mental health supports, lack of health care, lack of like whatever, right? Just the lack, like the being without. And that can be so isolating, and you're going to feel so alone. But like if you just can't, like if you just reach a hand out or lift a head and there's somebody there with you, even just that. So I think that the characteristics that we can embody and learn from this is that sometimes, just being there. And you know what I mean? It's not always about some people don't have the material wealth to give. Some people don't have money to donate, right? Because they're struggling on their own. And so like, does that mean you can't help? Like there's other ways that you can help. And sometimes just being there, can help someone feel less alone. Or like giving what you can give, whether it's time or money or resources or like physical, tangible things. It's that you do it and that you sort of show up when people are in this, when you see someone who's in this Five of Pentacles, type of moment. So I think that's what I'm getting from Five of Pentacles. What resources do we have available to support us? So this is 2. This is the second card. What resources do we have available to support us? So let's see what we can get from the Little Sister Tarot now. Okay, so we pulled Temperance, which again is amazing. So I'm gonna just sort of lay this out like the book shows us. Gonna lay it out just like the book has it. So Temperance. Okay, so I mean, what resources do we have available to support us? Well, again, Temperance is pointing us towards balance. It's pointing us, sort of towards that give and take. It like kind of reminds me of like mutual aid. Like when I look at Temperance, like sometimes I think of mutual aid. And so, how can we harness like the people in our community, or harness like others, that are sort of looking to embrace this ally archetype and embrace the role of being an ally, and like and finding out what that true allyship looks like. I think, we have to sort of look around to see what resources we have. Like maybe there's untapped things, and there's that sort of that mutual, right? That mutual give and take. And what can we offer, and how can we sort of, and sometimes too, when you're trying to be an ally, you don't want to embrace sort of that I'm the savior, right? Like the white savior complex that we know, kind of exists. And we definitely don't want to step in and be performative and only be an ally, so that we can say we're an ally, like, so we're able to say that or whatever. So there's a balance in that. There's a temperance, right? Like tempering our own needs and like, again, our own sort of like all like, the sense of pride we may have from like being an ally. And guess what? It's not about that. And like how to not center ourselves. I feel like we get so much from being like true allies. Like that's the gift in itself. And like, so that's like that, like, you can feel good about being an ally, without having to perform and make it performative. Like there's that balance. And I feel like Temperance, really kind of gives us that message that for us, like as an individual, like to reach our full potential, we sort of have to balance, all of the things like opposing forces and the light and the dark within us. And our natural gifts and talents like have to come to the forefront. So I think we have to think about what we bring naturally to the table. You know what I mean? Once we sort of balance out like the why behind what we're doing it, like what are our intentions. I think there's a lot we can take from temperance and like just that idea of balance and balancing so many things, like again balancing the emotions and balancing our own needs and our own like selfish, you know what I mean, like sort of darker like impulses and reasons, like why do we want to do this, why are we an ally, and what's the most effective way we can do that. And sometimes we have to put aside, some of our own, we have to put aside our own like selfish, right, like motives for things, and be able to give like of our natural talents and have it be like more organically happening rather than trying to really sort of like force, the whole ally, being an ally and really understanding what it means. There's a lot of temperance involved in that, I think. So number 3, is there anything preventing us from establishing community? So that's an interesting question, because I think for me, when I'm thinking about establishing community as an ally, I feel like there's a lot of things preventing us from establishing a community of like true allies, and us being able to do the work for ourselves and finding out what that means. Because I feel like we cannot rely on marginalized groups to teach us how to be good allies. Like, can they? Yes, they can. Like, they can tell us what they need from us, and that requires just listening, being quiet and listening. And that's like sort of where temperance comes in too, is like, okay, like quiet, like you have to listen, actively listen, because they can tell us what they like. A group that we're looking to be an ally for can tell us what they need and what's going to be most helpful. But we can't rely on we can't rely on that labor from them to teach us. So we need to sort of establish our own community as allies that are outside some of these groups we're looking to be allies for, and understand like how we can do that. So is there anything preventing us from establishing community? And I feel like a big one of those is vulnerability, just like what I was saying before, like the vulnerability piece. I think it's hard for people to get that vulnerable. Okay. Very interesting. So the 4 of Cups. And here, I mean, we've got the like epitome of like apathy, right? What prevents us from establishing community is sort of like, and I think this comes to, if we're being real and vulnerable, I think this comes from that feeling of like, well, what can I do? Like me as one person, like what am I going to be able to do? And the problem with that is that if everyone has that same thought, well, then no one's doing anything. So it's easy to get sort of wrapped up in the like, oh, like there's so much going on, or like, oh, I want to do all these things, but I don't know how to do it. I feel like for myself, that's me. It's like, okay, I want to be a good ally. I want to understand what that means. I want to be, I want to be able to do that, but I also don't want to overstep. And I also don't want to like feel like I'm taking over. I don't want to be seen as a savior. It's like, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of like things going on in my brain. And sometimes for me, that's just like, okay, I'm out, like sometimes we're just like, I don't know what to do. There's so much going on. I'm not even sure what I'm supposed to do with this. So I feel like preventing us from is that, at least for me, like, I wonder if there's other people sort of feeling as apathetic as sometimes we get. And sometimes, you know what I mean? Like we've got to sort of just like shake that off, like be like, okay, like things are overwhelming, like stuff gets overwhelming. And then like sometimes I have to remind myself that like I'm not living, the things that like I find overwhelming that are going on in like in my community, and then in the state, and then in the country, and in the world, like, just keep zooming out. And it's like, I'm not even living through most of it. There's some things that like, are personally, like do personally affect me. But in the grand scheme of things like marginalized communities and populations of people that are like having their rights taken away, like I don't fall into a lot of those groups. So like a lot of times it's like I have to tell myself like get over yourself, like this is so much bigger than you. And also, like, you can make an impact. So I think this apathetic thing, kind of happens. And also, too, preventing us from making community. I mean, if we're just sort of like throwing it all out there and being vulnerable, I feel like sometimes people are like, well, this doesn't affect me, right? Like, or until it affects them. Like, just as a side note, like, just thinking about like these stories I'm hearing about like immigrants like getting deported and like and it's happening to people who are like who didn't think it would happen to them, right? Like, quotation marks, like, we didn't think. And then it's like, so now you're gonna stand up and speak out because you didn't think it would happen to you. So it's like, that's not, that's sort of not being invested as a human being, and like, it's sort of like, okay, now you really got to think about, so I think that prevents us from establishing community when we think, well, is this not affecting me? Like, personally. So like, do I have to? And sometimes we don't have the mental capacity or the physical capacity or both, or like the bandwidth to be able to not like sink into this, sort of like one eye open. Like, look at this card. Just thinking about like this, to me it reminds me of someone like looking at the news, like the way sometimes I look at the news just with like one eye, because I'm just like, whoa, there's a lot going on. And so this apathy can happen so fast, and I think that's preventing us from creating a community space. Even if we just have to create a space where we talk about how apathetic we are, like we start somewhere. And I feel like that's what Four of Cups is saying. I think that's what I'm getting for that. Is there anything preventing us? And I think absolutely. And the Four of Cups I mean, to me, that's a pretty clear message. So number 4 is, how can we show up better in the spaces we care about? So if we care about a space, you know what I mean? We have to think about like, let's not be apathetic, because if I care about these spaces, and I want to show up in these spaces as an ally, you know what I mean? How can I do that? How can I do that better? And I think that's sort of what the gist of this whole, kind of spread is. What I was getting from it is thinking about, how can I do that? How do I show up better? So let's see what we pull for. Wow, man, this like is totally blowing my mind. And you see what I mean by the little sister and like this, I don't know, they're like in sync. They're in sync, don't you think? I didn't really mean to make a rhyme, but I did. Okay, so 3 of Cups. How can I show up better? How can I show up better? I mean, 3 of Cups is like, how can I show up better in these spaces? You know what I mean? And what is the 3 of Cups showing us? It's showing community. Like, the card is literally showing us this sense of connection and togetherness. And yes, the 3 of Cups is typically like a celebratory, you know what I mean? A celebratory, but it's also, to me, it's giving me the connection, right? The abundance that comes when we show up as our authentic selves, when I show up in my vulnerability. You know what I mean? I feel like that's how to show up better, is to do the work, like learn, listen, like shut up and close my mouth and listen, and try to learn as best I can, and be an authentic person. And so say, I don't know what I'm doing, or say, I don't know if this was the right thing to do, or say, like, again, sometimes it's just you know what? I hear you. I'm here. And that's it. And saying that because maybe I might have the right words to say, and my words might hurt as much as I have good intentions. I may unintentionally hurt a group that I'm looking to support, with something that I say, or something that I do, or, something that I suggest, or, some of my thoughts. So I think this is encouraging me and anyone who's looking to be a good ally to sort of show up and let people know the appreciation you have for them, and the care and the empathy you have for them, and the love you have, and that you're showing up as your authentic self, and that we sort of can't do it alone. And if we have that, again, going back to that, if we have that idea of like, well, what am I? So I'm one person. Like, how am I going to, fix this gigantic systemic, problem? Well, systemic problems, gigantic systemic problems typically start where you are, right? Like that's the one thing I've learned. It's like the community you're in, and like, having to start there, like locally, where you are, where you like physically live, and like find out like where you are, because that's where your impact is going to have them, right? That's where you're going to have the most impact. And then if more people do that, and more people sort of get out of that, like, well, what am I supposed to do? I'm one person, right? I'm so apathetic to all of these issues that are even, well, it doesn't have anything to do with me really. And like, really, what can I do? Because I can't relate. And you know what I mean? If we all just step back and say, I can't relate, well, we're never going to relate to each other. So I think this is such a card of separation, and a card of just sort of closing yourself off. Like, I'm just going to close my eyes and it's not happening. I can't, like, this is all too much for me. I can't even make a decision about how I want to move forward, how I want to help. I can't even expend the energy to figure out. But when we put out that energy, again, when we put it out, when we expend that energy to figure it out, to do the research, to, do the learning, you know what I mean? It's going to give us back so much. We're going to get so much out of that. That's that balance, that give and take. And like, again, just being there, you know what I mean? And sitting there with someone is sometimes, the best thing that you can do if you don't know what else to do. Like, if you don't know how to show up for someone, you just show up, like if I don't know how to be a good ally, like, just start by showing up, you know what I mean? Like, make the first step. And I think the 3 of Cups is such a beautiful message for how to better do that, and how to show up. So I hope this resonated with you. I think this ally spread from when Olga Speaks is it's just beautiful. And I think that we have one for every archetype. So definitely stay tuned, because this is probably the beginning of a series within a series, within a Spread It Out Sunday series of just when Olga Speaks spreads, working with these archetypes. So this is the ally. Again, I think this is such a beautiful pairing. I'm so thankful to have both of these. I'm so thankful that Sasha created this deck. And now there's this amazing, even deeper way that I can connect with this and bring the tarot into it and use these together. And I think this was I just think we got such great cards. I love the energy around the ally. I think we got some amazing cards here, for this ally spread. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you have one Olga Speaks. Let me know if you have Little Sister. I love these decks together. Let me know if you struggle with knowing how to be an ally, because I'm just putting it out there that I struggle. I struggle with it, and that's just a truth that I'm sharing. I don't expect anyone to help me with it. I expect to have to do the work on my own, and hopefully I'm able to connect with people. I have so many resources, and I'm able to connect with people, and I'm so fortunate that in my work life I get so many opportunities to engage in like learning communities and communities of practice around these different issues, and even like just allyship. Like, there's an allyship group that we're able to be a part of that lets us speak these vulnerabilities that are really hard to speak, and truths that are really sometimes hard to accept about things, like the way things are, and just the structures and systems that make up like our society. So it's a lot, and it can get heavy. And I think I love the fact that I have this forum too, in which to just speak my own truth, and hopefully connect with some of you who have some of the same feelings. And I really appreciate all of you who comment on these videos. So thank you so much. And if you haven't done so, please consider subscribing. Those who have subscribed, please consider sharing, so we can just keep building this community, because I just think it's so important to be able to connect in this way, as one way to connect. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye.